Imagine this. You're standing in your kitchen. It's late. The lights are dim. But the warm glow from the stove reflects on your face. You're cooking dinner. Maybe pasta, something quick after a long day. You're humming to the soft music playing in the background. The water boils. The knife rhythmically slices through vegetables. Steam rises from the pot. It feels like any other night. But then, you feel it. That chill down your spine. The sudden stillness in the room. And without turning around, you know. Someone is behind you. Now, you can feel the cold breath on your neck. That's exactly what happened to one woman. Only this wasn't a movie. This was real. What do you think happened next? Let's find out her story together. On an autumn evening, precisely 11:47 p.m., October 5th, 2019, in the quiet city of Tulsa, inside a small one-story home, young woman in her 20s was tidying up her kitchen after a long day's work. The kitchen was warm, filled with the scent of sautéed garlic and golden onions. On the stove, a delicious homemade stew was cooking. Chunks of meat turned slowly, while neatly cut vegetables rested on the wooden cutting board. She set the pot to a low simmer and began chopping some celery, softly humming a tune, her voice barely audible, yet carrying a deep sense of tranquility. Feeling the kitchen grow warmer, she walked over to the front door and cracked it open, letting in a cool draft to push away the cooking steam. Returning to the counter, she picked up her knife, ready to continue. But then she froze. Something shifted. It wasn't the wind. It was that feeling. The one that makes every hair on your neck stand straight. A stillness. A silent warning from somewhere deep inside. And then she heard it. The slow, deliberate sound of the front door opening. The noise was so faint it could have been missed entirely. But in the heavy quiet of that moment, it felt deafening. Turning her head ever so slightly, her eyes met the shadow at the edge of the living room. Tall, dressed in dark clothing. A cap pulled low over his face, hiding most of it. They stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. No words, no movement. Then, with a sudden stride, the man surged toward her. Fear didn't give her a single second to think. She backed away quickly, bolting into the living room. Her bag was on the couch. She grabbed it, pulled out a sum of cash, and held it out toward him with trembling hands. A desperate attempt to end this without a fight. But he didn't move. He looked at the money with a cold, dismissive glance, as if it wasn't enough to stop him. Then, in just a few steps, he closed the distance between them. She saw him start to raise his hand toward her. Whether to grab her or something worse, she couldn't tell. But before anything could happen, the fear overwhelmed her. Her breath caught, the room seemed to tilt, and her legs gave out beneath her. She hit the floor, dizzy and unsteady. But even through the fog in her mind, something deep inside urged her to keep moving. The instinct to survive. Her pulse roared in her ears. And quickly she gathered herself, crawling toward the counter. Her fingers closed around the very knife she had been using to chop moments earlier. The room seemed to shrink. The warm glow of the kitchen now replaced by a suffocating tension. In a split second, instinct took over. She raised it between them. A sharp inhale broke the silence. She had struck his hand. Then, something in his eyes shifted, a flicker of fear. He instinctively clutched his injured hand, wincing in pain. Without another move toward her, he spun around and bolted for the door. No words, no threats, just gone. The kitchen was still again, but not the same. Her body trembled, the knife still clutched in her shaking hand. The world felt unreal. She didn't remember falling, but she must have, because the next thing she knew, she was on the floor, the cool tiles pressing against her cheek. Her heart pounded, but the adrenaline that had carried her this far was fading fast, until finally she blacked out. When she opened her eyes, the sky outside was beginning to lighten. She crawled toward her phone, adjusted herself into a sitting position on the floor, and with a trembling voice, called the police. She couldn't remember everything, but one thing was certain. Her life would never be the same again. To this day, that man has never been caught. The cap he wore, combined with the darkness that cloaked the house, made it impossible to make out his features. The media never revealed her name, out of respect for her privacy, and her story is still told without all the details. Warning, even the most ordinary moments can twist into a nightmare. And don't forget to lock the doors.